Okay, just switching gears a bit, talking about religion. One of the things that strike me as quite interesting about Yoruba culture is that you guys have been able to, at least from the outside perspective, been able to balance the mix between Islam and Christianity quite well, without as much cultural conflict between the two. So how do you guys think that the Yoruba people have managed to balance the difference between religious affiliations?
The simple answer is you get married. You can't hate Muslims if they're your cousins. How do you? Like literally, in Yoruba context, they've got mixed families where some people are Yoruba, some people are Christian, some people are Muslim, some people speak different languages. And some people are in the Igbo context. If you're not Christian, you're basically apparently you're worshiping evil spirits. That's basically it. And where you don't have that mixing or cultural exchange where you can actually have a bond beyond your religion, because all of us here are friends with people from different religions or people who have no religion. That doesn't mean you can't be friends, that doesn't mean you can't actually get along, but where there is no mixing, where there is no interchange, it's really, really difficult for that to be the case. And where Christianity took such a deep hold in the Igbo parts of Nigeria, you're almost ostracized for thinking differently, even though most of the most Christian Igbos, when it's time to do their ritual, they'll be in the back. They'll be like, no, this one's... Or when someone's senior dies, they'll do the church bit and then they'll go around the back with the elders and do what they know they should be doing. Even though the following Sunday, they're quick to say the whole thing that they just did to bury elder such and such is evil. So when you have that battle mentally, it's really, really tough for you to actually start acknowledging and engaging with people on a different path. Whereas from what I've seen in the Yoruba culture, where you mix, it's a lot easier. I'm not saying that there's no issues, but from the outside looking in, it seems like there's more in common, there's more of an understanding.
I would say there's a lot of religious acceptance. I don't know whether that's because of the initial mixing, but I think there probably has to be some tolerance for there to have been mixing to begin with, I feel like. I think in terms of traditional Yoruba spirituality, there's three kind of like main tenets about it, and one of them is that there's no evangelizing, that's not in our spirituality. It's largely oral, and there's devotees to different orishas, and you will never have somebody being like, I'm Okwu, I'm going to be fighting something that's strong, like that. You don't have that. And I think that's why Yoruba people accept that on Okwu, which means that there's multiple roads to the market. So like, even now people can be like, if you're Christian, you can be Christian, you can still, Yoruba spirituality isn't a closed theological system. It's meant to be, you're meant to be amenable to the practice that you have and not necessarily, like closed blanket injunctions for every person that practices the spirituality. But I do think as we're seeing more rise in things like Pentecostalism, where even Pentecostal Christians, I grew up Catholic, and there was animosity from certain sects of Christianity towards other sects of Christianity. So I think as we're seeing a rise of that kind of happening, normally Yoruba people, when there's Eid, if you're Christian, you'll still go and collect meat and things like that. And this, past few years I've been seeing things like people being like, oh, when my neighbor brought the salah meat, I bathed it in anointing oil and stuff like that. Just seeing that, and it starts off as jokes, but I think these things as you start to see more and more of that, I think we'll have to be careful to not be seeing less and less acceptance and tolerance.
Would you say that the underlying kind of understanding, would you say that traditional Yoruba beliefs is still kind of what everybody kind of believes somehow? Or have people completely rejected it who are Christian and Muslim?
I think there's a lot of demonization, and I think that's happened with a lot of African spirituality in general. But I think there's a lot of blurred lines with spirituality and religion. So like if you look at Muslim, Islamic practices and certain things like, even I think in the UK, one of the ways I think Yoruba people have kept culture a lot is through white garment churches. And so the lines between culture and spirituality are sometimes, I think, a bit blurred. And the other thing that I would say is there's a lot of people that do certain things, but they feel like if they do it under a guise of something else, then it's not really the same as traditional spirituality.
Can you give an example of that?
So I think some people might call someone else to speak to a person, but they won't say that it's Babadan. They'll say like it's like something else, or they hide it under the guise of something else. Or some of the practices that people do, I think also because of the translation of the language, like Olodumare isn't the same as God in the Abrahamic sense, but people still use that to translate to God. So some of the language that is used in traditional spirituality, I don't think people know that it comes from traditional spirituality, but it's because we always are trying to make false equivalences, and I think through that we sometimes, there's been a lot of dilution of culture there.
Understanding of those religions was based on their understanding of spirituality. So, for example, a lot of Christians and Muslims say that we worship the same God, but Christians from other parts of the world and Muslims from other parts of the world would never agree to that. But I think Nigerians will say we worship the same God just in different ways. So I think they don't delineate the boundaries of the difference between Christianity and Islam as much as other people would. And I think there's actually a religion, Yoruba, that called is it Islam?
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah, people call themselves Christmas. Like,
yeah, because some Christianity and Islam together. So they kind of just
the mom is Christian.
Yeah. So like for example, my mom is Christian, my dad is Muslim. My dad can quote Christian scriptures.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's really common in
It's interweave or whatever. Because I think
more parties, you'll have people love to party.
I think a lot of Nigerians weren't as willing to give up their spiritual understanding as it seemed. That they were willing to take on Christianity or Islam, but they weren't willing to give up their understanding because that's what they grew up with, that's what they know. So it's like, okay, we'll take it, but we'll take it and add our own. And if the foundation is the same, Islam and Christianity won't really end up being that different because they have the same foundation of understanding of spirituality. So I think
that's interesting from my understanding of what happened in Igbo land, because when the British came over and the missionaries were doing their thing, they essentially tried to conflate Christianity with our native religions, where you had Chineke who they equated to God, and then you had Chi who they sort of Chi refers to your personal God, so the God that sits over your house, similar in some ways to the Yoruba palace, where they've got people who are devotees of Shango and all sorts of different things in that regard. But where they really got it down is where they took the Igbo trickster deity, Okwu, and made him equivalent to the devil, and that became the entire narrative. And then as far as Igbo people are concerned, that then became how this is exactly the same as what we do. And over time, the language just shifted to now Okwu absolutely means devil, Chi and Chineke aren't even separate, it all means God now. And it doesn't actually delineate between the two. So when you've got that level of buy-in where it's, this is exactly the same as what my parents do, it's just different words, you get a level of passion and virility that people don't fully understand. And then you add that to the Igbo culture of trying to prove how intelligent you are, because we were quoted for speaking in parables and speaking in confusing ways, but only those who knew really knew. So if you come up with the craziest bars and parables to explain something, you're on a higher level. So now when you've got this new Christianity thing, and someone tries to challenge you on it, it's almost like they're challenging your status, your intelligence, your wisdom as a person, and then it becomes something it doesn't need to be, in my view.
Yeah.
So, I like some of the points that are being made. I think it's also important to note that Christianity itself was not always an exclusively monotheistic tradition, in that early Christians also had beliefs in other deities and spirits and things. So we now have kind of a developed Christianity where people insist on only one God and nothing else. So I think the answer's already been said, which is that in Yoruba tradition, it's very accepting of other ways and other traditions necessarily. And I think that's important. And I think the relationships that we draw between the traditions are important because they aren't always the same. and they don't always equate in kind of a very straightforward way. So I think that has to be addressed as well.
Can I just add, before we move on, just to put perspective on a point I was put earlier, what Tumi said about Yoruba culture is the same in Igbo culture. So if you look at how Igbo spirituality was before, you don't evangelize to anybody. Everybody's God matters. You have your family God, your family shrine. Everything is about you and your understanding. There's no need to impose your understanding of God on anybody else. My surname is Kalo. That is a family that is devoted to Kamalo, which is the god of thunder. And then you have other people who, there's some people who's Anyanwa, that's like a mix of the name. That's people whose family is devoted to the god of the sun. And then there's Allah, which is the god of the earth. So our traditional spirituality takes nature and makes nature God. And then Chineke is an unknown that you can't engage with because how did you know that we got here? So we accept the unknown as a thing. And then they came and said that the unknown was the God that they're talking about. And it was so open. There's a story that is when the white man came and said, okay, this is what it was, that they created a module and added it to the shrine. That's how it started. They didn't bust down the door and say everything you've done is wrong. They said, okay, you guys have 5 gods, here's the 6th one. And then you start to incorporate that 6th one into your understanding. And then eventually, through violence and force, you tell those people that you have to worship that one. Your kids can't actually get an education unless they follow the Catholic way. Even though the Bible says that once somebody is dead, they don't rise again until Judgment Day, but they're praying to Mary and all of these dead people. So how are they listening to you? The Bible says that they're dead. Do you know what I mean? But they're very aware that these systems of religion work, but they didn't want us to follow the system of religion for ourselves. They wanted us to follow their system of religion. So it wasn't, for me, like Igbo people being more Christian or not necessarily being open to other religions being inside their religion didn't come from a natural instinct to not want to be accepted. It comes from our religion having been so, like they rewrote the Bible in Igbo. They did so much to make us turn away and destroy our shrines and do everything that you didn't actually have access to certain things if you weren't a Christian. So my dad couldn't have gone to school if he wasn't a Christian. My dad was born in 1941. Do you know what I mean? And he was told that if he didn't go to church, then he would have no access to education. So a lot of the time, it's not because there's anything in you that makes you not want to honour it. But yeah, those same systems have taken away your ability to engage with your traditional religion. Because I think if you do go to the village and you go to some places where they still follow their traditional religion, nobody cares if somebody's a Christian or a Muslim or something else. Yeah.
Going off of that, I feel like the way that you can, I guess, tell the acceptance that Yorubas have of religion is if you do a comparison with Hausa people. Like, there's Hausa Muslims and there's Yoruba Muslims, and it's almost like they're on 2 different spectrums, because like the Hausa people weren't, let's just say they weren't exactly as accepting of the colonization and the Christianity thing as much as people in other parts of Nigeria were. And like it showed today as well, like they don't educate their children the same way people in other parts of Nigeria are educated, and so they're seen as different in a negative light. And I feel like all of that comes from them not wanting to be accommodating to what they were given.
I think I agree, but I think we have to be careful, because obviously the reason that Hausa and Fulani people, or like largely in the north, are Muslim is because of Arab imperialism.
Yeah.
And if you look at Hausa and Fulani culture, if you think like with Igbo people, you can see what is still indigenously Igbo. With Yoruba people, you can see what is still indigenously Yoruba. But if you look at the Hausa and Fulani culture, it's pretty much synonymous with Arab culture and Islam. So what happened in terms of how the North became Muslim, I think is a bit different. Maybe obviously I wasn't there, but it's a bit different to I think what happened to us in the South. And the other thing that I'm going to say for Yoruba people is that our culture is so synonymous with spirituality. Like, our spirituality is not something that you divorce from your everyday life. The wedding ceremonies, your naming ceremonies, every rite of passage, even our everyday parlance is tied in with spirituality. So if Yoruba people were to give up their spirituality, I feel we would have given up our whole culture. And you see that in the sense of how Yoruba spirituality has been exported to different parts of the world. In places like Cuba, they had to change it into Santeria. So when Catholicism was forced on them, they were like, oh, okay, you lot worship saints, come, we have worship, let's just mix it up. And that's what they did. And even in places like Trinidad, it was so important that the culture was preserved because that is all, like, that is Yoruba culture. And so as much as we, you know, even if you look at Christianity, if you look at Islam, how Yoruba is practiced, it's still very much sprinkled with our culture, because I think how we view the divine is not divorced or separated from anything that is part of our lives.
Just one last comment on.
Yeah, I think as a Christian, personally, other religions shouldn't be demonized. And although there's a lot of religions in the world which claim mutual exclusivity, I still think that just having common ground with people, love, empathy, respect, those are just basic human things which should be done. I like an African theologian called John Mbiti, and he kind of studied African religions and the commonality between a lot of our indigenous religions. Although there's usually a pantheon of different deities, there's usually a supreme type of God called different names in different religions across the continent. And he basically argues that the story of African indigenous religions doesn't necessarily have to be exclusive or taken away from, let's say, Christianity, that it can be understood as a continuation. I do think that generally, yeah, more conversations need to be had. And in fact, I'll plug it here.